Hey everybody, welcome to Zanpakuto Explained, the series where I try to explain every Zanpakuto in Bleach, and today we're going to be talking about Katen Kyokotsu, Shunsui Zanpakuto. And the sealed state is sort of unique. It's one of 3 dual-bladed Zanpakutos, but if I remember correctly, it's the only one that has 2 blades in the sealed state, so that's something. One is shorter than the other, and I think in the anime it's mentioned that he uses like the shorter one for like when he's close range and the longer one when he's long range or something like that. I don't really remember. I think it's anime exclusive because I did reread all of Shunsui's fights and I do not remember him saying that. So I do think that's an anime exclusive thing, but you know, who cares really. Okay, so now on to the Shikai, which is Katen Kyokotsu. In English, that means Flower Heaven Bone of Madness. Really cool name. And the release command, I believe, is the longest word-for-word release command. It is, when the flower wind rages, the flower god roars. When the wind of heaven rages, the god of the underworld sneers. Very long release command. And its ability is turning games into reality, or turning children's games specifically into reality. So basically, like, if it's a kid's game, Zanpakuto can do it. At least that's kind of what it seems like. And something unique about it is anybody, including Shunsui, who is near Katen Kyokotsu, is forced to follow the game's rules. And apparently, Suchi says the Zanpakuto is like moody, so it won't always go all out. So sometimes it won't be able to play certain games just because it doesn't want to. So yeah, pretty OP Zanpakuto, and the fact that its ability is so vague leads to it having a lot of abilities in canon, especially out of canon. But I'm only going to be talking about it in canon because it's the only one I'm familiar with. So yeah, so we still have a lot of stuff to talk about though. Okay, so the first ability he ever uses is Bushogame, which means wobbly top, and basically Shunsui like spins his blades around to create like a tornado that like flies forward. I believe he uses it to like block one of Stark's like arrows and to just kind of distract him. I believe it's based off of like tops, yeah. It's like it's basically like a giant blade, you know. He just shoots it forward and then attacks you. Probably one of the most simple abilities, but yeah, we only saw it once. Okay, so then there's Takaoni, meaning mountain demon, and whoever is highest wins, but we never see what actually winning means, because Shunsui I think just shoots him. Sorry, Stark just kind of shoots him after he activates it, so we don't know what winning means, but Shunsui also says like, oh, this is a game of life and death. Whoever wins dies. So whoever loses dies. But he says that a lot, and we've seen people win and not die. So who really knows what winning means? It might just be like giving you an advantage or something. I'm not entirely sure. It's not made clear what winning is for any of the games, really. Okay, so next up is Kageone, meaning Shadow Demon. And it's basically Shunsui's main ability. He uses it the most out of any others, and it definitely has the most versatility. Basically, if Shunsui steps on your shadow, you lose, and if you step on Shunsui's shadow, Shunsui loses. But like with the other abilities, it's not clear what winning or losing means. We do see Shunsui like stab on Stark after like stepping on a shadow or whatever, but he can attack through shadows, so it's not like a clear winning condition. He can like teleport between shadows. He can hide in them. He can create shadow clones. So it seems like a basic rule of Kageone is being able to manipulate shadows. So yeah, we've never seen what winning actually means, despite us seeing him step on shadows and stuff like that. So it really, again, really is unclear what winning means in the case of these games, but who cares, I guess. So yeah, we've only actually seen Shunsui manipulate shadows, but it should be possible for anyone to, since both players are subject to the same rules. So yeah, just to go over what he can do again, he can like stick his sword in the ground and attack through shadows. He can teleport through shadows. He can move super fast through shadows. He can hide in them. This little pocket dimension thing. He can create shadow clones. So yeah, super versatile ability. And it seems like the opponents don't know how to do it, or they cannot do it. So yeah, really good ability. Okay, so now we're probably on to Shunsui's most iconic ability, Iroroni, meaning Color Demon. And basically, the players take turns calling out colors and then attacking. And it's like a betting game. You have to risk a lot to get big rewards. So if you call out a color that you're wearing a lot of, so say you're wearing black and you call out black, the attack would do a lot of damage. Even more, like you can give them a tiny cut and it would like decapitate. It would like cut off their arm basically. But if you do the opposite, so if you're wearing entirely black and you say white, it would do barely any damage to the opponent. Like Shunsui calls out like gray or something, he doesn't wear any gray. So he cuts Stark, and Stark's like, wait, that should have cut off my arm, but it only did a kind of tiny scratch. So yeah, that's kind of the basis of the ability is you risk a lot to get a lot of reward. And it works two ways. So if you call out black, the opponent can attack you and you'll get damaged a bunch. But it'll also damage them a bunch. So yeah, pretty good ability. Really risky though. I like what Shunsui does. He like removes his clothing. So he removes his captain's coat and then says black and then cuts them. And it would basically kill them instantly. That's how Stark was killed, for example. So yeah, I didn't really grasp the concept of the ability for a while because I think I'm just dumb. So maybe I didn't do the best job explaining it, but yeah. You call out a color you're wearing, you do a lot of damage. You call out a color you're not wearing, you do no damage. That's basically it. Okay, so the next one is one of the more complicated ones. It is Dharma-san Gakuronda, meaning the Dharma doll fell over in English. And the game has 3 rules. The first one is whoever it has to be in a place where all the players can see them. So like every other player has to be able to see the person. 2, if the players are seen moving by the person who's it, they lose. And 3, if any players touch the person who's it, the person who's it is lost, I guess. So it's red like green light, essentially. And the weird part, though, is the person who's it emits like a trail of Ryatsu, and the people who aren't it are able to see that trail and follow it to move super fast to find the shortest route to the person, essentially. And Shunsui uses another technique to create Ryatsu, like fake versions of himself, basically. And it just makes the game more effective because it makes the people who it think that they see him, but they really don't. They see a clone of him, essentially. Pretty good ability, I guess. We only really saw it used once, and it was really only used so Shunsui could get close. But I mean, maybe it has some better, more effective uses. Who knows? Okay, so the next one up is Kageokuri, which means shadow sending, and basically, the players make an after image of their opponent if they look at their shadows for long enough. That's pretty much it. They just create after images by looking at shadows. Pretty basic. See, I've been dreading this next part for a while. It is Shunsui's Bankai, Katen Kyokotsu Karamatsu Shinju, which means bones of heavenly blooming madness, withering pine lovers suicide. And the reason I've been kind of dreading this is because it is very complicated. The names and not really what they do, but mostly just the names and how they work, I guess. So yeah, basically Shunsui puts his swords in the ground and then a black image of a tree flows from them. And his Zanpakuto spirit also appears behind him. The Bankai covers an incredibly large area, basically the whole royal palace, if I remember correctly. And anyone in Shunsui's immediate area suffers most of the same effects. And it makes the whole area dark and gloomy. So Shunsui doesn't like using it near people. Ichigo's like, wait, why is the sky all black now? So yeah, pretty intimidating Bankai. Okay, so basically, Katen Kyokotsu Karamatsu Shinju is set up into 4 acts. Sort of like Yamamoto's, but the acts have to come one after another. And it seems like they have a time limit, so a bit different, but similar idea. So 4 main abilities. And the first one is Tame Raikizu no Wakachiai, which means sharing of wounds. And basically, both people share every wound, but cannot die from them. It tells the story of a man that feels the wounds he put on his enemy's body, but cannot die with them. The interpretations of the acts actually change on the translation. Some translations say, instead of enemies, it's lovers, but who really knows, I guess. Since it's a play, So like the first, the Shikai is based off of children's games. The Bankai is based off of like plays, so sort of like adult games. I think it's pretty interesting, at least. So that's kind of it with the first act. Any wounds are shared. So like, soon as Shunichi gets shot, and the person who shot him gets shot as well. Pretty simple. Okay, so next up is Act 2, Zanki no Shitone, which means Cushion of Deep Remorse. Pretty fucking cool name. Basically, red spots appear all over the attacker, but it also doesn't kill them. The act shows the attacker feeling remorse and falling into illness because of it. This actually doesn't change between the translations, but yeah, that's what it does. Okay, so next up is Act 3, Dongyo no Fuchi, meaning the abyss. And basically the whole area floods with water, and everyone in the area drowns until the spiritual pressure is exhausted. The meaning of this act shows the people accepting their fate together. Okay, so now on to the final act. What the fuck is this word? Itokiri Basami. Chizome no Nodobue. That's a very long name. It means thread cut, blood soaked throat. Very morbid name. Basically, Shunsui creates a white thread with his fingers, and then ties it around his opponent's neck, and then just cuts it. The translation I read says this act shows the attacker committing suicide out of regret, or something similar to that, I guess. Yeah, very morbid Bankai, I think, in general. Yeah, so the story the Bankai tells is the first act shows a person wounding his enemy/lover and feels remorse but cannot die with them. The second, so he feels the pain but cannot really die, because it's fake pain, essentially. And the Act 2 shows him being so remorseful he falls into illness. Act 3 shows him just kind of drown in his own remorse, basically. They accept their fate together, basically. And the final act shows the attacker committing suicide. Pretty morbid. It's also kind of useless. Like, the first 3 acts are sort of useless, because he ends up killing them anyway in the final act. Because, like, the first 3 acts don't damage them at all. It's all just for show, essentially. Which fits with kind of Shunsui's whole theme. Because it's games, And most of the games really aren't that useful. Or they have ulterior motives. So a lot of it's just for show, like with the red light, green light thing. So yeah, I think it's pretty neat Bankai. The names are really complicated though, like Itokiri Basami Chizame no Dobue. Very difficult name to say for a English speaker. But yeah, it's kind of it for Katen Kyokotsu. I thought it was going to be longer than that. I'm not entirely sure which one's coming next, but I should have it out by this time next week. Probably going to be another shorter one. I'm not going to do Ukitake's Zanpakuto for a while, so I don't really know what I'm going to do next. Maybe not Tenkon. Maybe, what's it called? I already forgot his name. The dog guy. Komamura. Yeah, I'm probably going to become Komamura Zanpakuto next, but yeah, that's basically it. Thank you for watching, I guess.